competition policy and good governance. So a very warm welcome to you, sir. And a very warm welcome to all of our esteemed panelists as well. Ms. Nidhi Pundir is Vice President Global CSR and Director at the HCL Foundation. She is a development and CSR leader and drives strategic philanthropy, community development and sustainability initiatives. Very warm welcome to you. Mr. Abhishek Gupta is Head International Appliances, Rooftop Solar and PE A at Energy Efficiency Services Limited. And he is an energy efficiency professional and advances global programs on efficient appliances. A very warm welcome. We warmly welcome Dr. Debajit Palit. He is Center Head of the Center for Climate Change and Energy Transition at Chintan Research Foundation. He is an energy policy specialist and focuses on decentralized renewable energy. A very warm welcome to you. I now hand it over to the esteemed chair. It's over to you, sir, to take the session forward. Can I have a hand mic, please?
A very good morning to all of you. I'm very pleased to be here to spend this lovely morning with you people to talk about a very, very important issue. My only problem with many of these issues is that they remain stuck in these halls and don't go beyond. Fortunately, I belong to an organization which the little introduction which you heard is incomplete. We do a lot of work at the grassroots as well, including dealing with issues like rooftop water harvesting in Jaipur, including working on Swachh Bharat, cleaning the streets, cleaning the parks. It's a very active program we're running with very large number of volunteers who are there. We remain behind the backdrop, but the fact is that what we would like to understand that many of these things require action as well, and not just talking. We just talk and talk without understanding as to how this talk can be converted into action and have some impact. Now, of course, one doesn't expect everybody to have a major impact, but even Boond Boond Sagar jaise bolte or Anuvrat Andolan, these kind of issues do matter. A lot of people underestimate the value of small things, and they do matter, and this is what is my appeal to people who are here. With that, let me, we heard yesterday the very interesting nexus between water, energy, health and environment. Undoubtedly the nexus is, doesn't need any explanation or any proof. The nexus is very evident, and fact is that one impacts the other, and therefore there is a cascading effect on the third and the fourth. Now, how do we really deal with these issues? And therefore the choice of the title which the organizers have thought of, I think is very valid. As the speaker was saying yesterday, that he has been to many conferences dealing with water, energy, and health and environment, but nothing which is looking at it in a composite fashion. I think he made a very important point yesterday, among other things that what he spoke about. It so happens that the speaker belongs to my state, and therefore I was quite happy to hear him speak a lot of sense yesterday, even if it was a written speech. Quite often ministers and VIPs don't get the correct drift of this thing. So what the point which he highlighted is what also I would like to highlight is the title of this conference is so important. The other second point, what the speaker said yesterday, is something which we are doing at our own level. We are working at the level of panchayats in southern Rajasthan. Many ways, Nidhi is familiar with our work, and we are doing a lot of these kind of activities which are unfunded, because we believe that there is a social responsibility that we have, even as an organization which has been there for more than 40 years. We do get called upon by the public and the administration to work on issues of larger public welfare, and this, I think, is an important issue. We also work in the municipal areas of Jaipur city, which itself is quite big, and we don't do any work outside in municipal areas in Rajasthan, but we do that, as I said, cleaning the street, collecting the garbage, and particularly PET bottles, and seeing to it that it goes into a proper recycling chain. We also are running collection bins for electronic goods, discarded electronic goods, phones, batteries, etc., which has been supported to us since a long time by the Swedish Society for Nature Conservation. So I wanted to mention these things that, you know, there is we have our feet on the ground as well, and not just in Geneva and Washington, which is also where we work, and we do work on many of these issues at the policy level as well. With that, may I now request Abhishek Gupta, over to you. As I said, we installed rooftop solar. And we did one project with the support of the HDFC Foundation, the HT Parekh Foundation. This is very interesting. Before I ask you to speak, we installed solar rooftop in a bunch of rural villages. And you know, one of the biggest attraction that was for people to come to the school, charging their mobile phones. Because they couldn't get electricity outside on a regular basis, etc. Because of the roof. See the unintended consequence, which is beneficial. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Mehta. Very good morning to all. And thank you for inviting me here. We are an organization, Dr. Mehta, which believes in doing the works on ground. And why am I saying so? Is because of the fact that we are best known for our initiative called UJALA, which was about putting around 380 million LED bulbs on ground in India. And today, India happens to be the biggest producer of LED bulbs. This has transformed the lighting industry per se, and we are ranked amongst the top countries in the world who not only produce, rather use the LED bulbs, right from all facets of our usage. You talked about solar. I'm happy to share that we are one of the initial propagators of PM Surya Ghar. We made the presentation to MNRE, PMO and all to make rooftop solar as something which is the household thing for the country. And I'm happy to share that more than 20 lakhs installations have already been done under PM Surya Ghar, but there is a long way to go. We are having different kind of business models to propagate specific technologies per se. If you talk about PM Surya Ghar now, we are actually the nodal agency for promoting PM Surya Ghar in the state of Orissa, because there is state subsidy as well, which is available apart from the central government subsidy. If I see the other facets of life, we are working with MSMEs right now to make them not only the energy efficient, rather water efficient as well, through the energy audits which we are conducting for MSME units, cutting across the sectors or clusters. This kind of business model is something which we are doing with the support of the local state government. And the actual aim is not only do the energy audit, rather make these audits as investment grade and help and invite new ESCO players to come and invest in MSMEs. We are also discussing about securitizing the repayment risk of the ESCO players who might be investing in these MSME units. Since we have been an organization which is doing things on ground, I'll share another story about putting up smart meters in India. You might have seen this revolution coming up in big way. We did it back in 2017-18, sir, when it was not a national level scheme by Ministry of Power. So we came up with the concept of total cost of capital employed and getting the revenues accrued over a period of 7 years. We could do it in UP, we could do it in Rajasthan, Delhi, Haryana, Bihar, and we are very happy to see that we are the market leaders as of now. We have the portfolio of around 2.5 crore smart meters as of now in order books, and around 50 lakhs is already installed. Rest 2 crores are under the progress. And we have been able to invite and make the segment much more excitement filled, that now you are seeing every big player coming up in a smart meter business in India. Another segment which you might be...
Can I interrupt you?
Sure, sir.
What is the acceptability of smart meters? You know, we have a very difficult market.
Okay.
Who are used to free electricity.
So I'll...
Free given by the government, they hook the wires.
So that is, I think, little older story as of now. And why am I saying so? Making so a strong statement is because of the fact today, Bihar discoms are under profit. Now you imagine the impact of smart meters in India. So we might be thinking that Bihar might be having very high AT&C losses and discoms might be running into losses. It is not a fact, sir. They have booked profit in last financial year. So
That's good news.
So it's all about how do you use the technology, number one. Number two, how do you actually put the things on ground? That's where the actual challenge lies. And if you're able to convince your stakeholders in the right fashion, and you make them aware and convince them about the advantages, what they are going to get out of it, you can definitely do it. And we have been doing this kind of stuff since last decade or so. In fact, if you see the street lights in India, initially you might have seen all sodium vapor lights and all which were there earlier. Now you don't see them. You can have some credit given to ESL as well, because we did around 1.3 crore street lights in India under ESCO model. We did the initial investments, and we got the repayments done through the savings which accrued over a period of 7 years. Not only that, sir, if you see even electric vehicle business in India, we were the first organization in India to put up 10,000 EV tender back in 2017-18. At the time, there was hardly any EV manufacturer per se. We could instill the confidence in the manufacturers about putting up the manufacturing facilities for electric vehicles. And today, we are seeing not 1, 2, or 5, more than 10
You're
players.
talking about three-wheelers.
I'm talking about four-wheelers, which is started with four-wheelers. And at the time, Tata and Mahindra started manufacturing electric vehicles in India.
Did you provide the technology or what?
So what we did, we provide them the market, not the technology.
How?
So if you remember back in 2017-18, ministries issued a circular that all the government vehicles which are being used for day-to-day routine application, they have to be electric. And that was the fundamental way of creating the demand through the government initiative for the manufacturers. So that instilled the confidence in that, and we are the first people to who deployed 2,000 electric vehicles in market through the government route. In fact, you might have seen back in 18, 19, and so a lot of ministers, honorable ministers also used to ride on electric vehicles. And it was just because of that initiative, you were able to see a lot of new players coming up in the market. Same goes with the charging station infrastructure. We were amongst the first beneficiaries of DHI incentives, and we could put the initial charging infrastructure in Delhi as well, apart from the other states of India. So our role is more about...
Can I ask you a question?
Sure, sir.
In the West, in many countries now, they are providing for domestic electric charging for vehicles instead of going to a commercial place. How are you looking at that?
It's
That will really popularize.
It is a fantastic idea, I must say, and
is happening.
it's very good to see. It's very good to see that now EV manufacturers are coming up with low capacity chargers. Even for 4-wheelers, so 3 kilowatt and 7 kilowatt chargers are very popular nowadays, which can be installed at the household level, even in fact at society level as well.
Yeah.
And this is something which is the right method, I understand,
Yeah.
to create the electrical infrastructure which is required for charging. And in fact, EV charging per se is going to be one of the biggest consumers of electricity apart from the other segments. Then
Data centers.
data centers would be definitely topping up in next 3 to 5 years, what we understand, because of the naturally AI application which is coming up in big way.
Yeah.
So we find that this solution of having domestic chargers is going to be a real way of doing the things. In fact, back in 2017-18 when we started this, India was not sure about which charging protocol we as a country should be using. So we had multiple types of chargers as per the DHI provision, and we could finally come up with the final charging protocol which is going to be applicable across the country.
My only one observation is, just to make it a little interesting for the audience, that there are other alternate, carbon-friendly fuels other than EV. So, what do you think about that? It could be ethanol, it could be biodiesel, or what have you.
I'll say, sir, India is a diverse country, not in terms of population, rather in terms of technology as well. The market is so huge that it is only the competitiveness of that particular technology which will decide how far does it go. But definitely, there is a potential of ethanol, there is a potential of EV, there is a potential of, I'll say, ammonia, there is a potential of hydrogen. There can be so many alternate fuels. There can be fuel cells which might be coming up.
Ultimately meeting the objective of being carbon friendly.
Exactly.
Right.
So whatever route you adopt, whatever channel you adopt, if you are competent enough to handle the market pressures and be more competitive as far as cost is concerned, and you are parallelly being environment friendly, you have the game to play.
Yeah.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
I mean, since your company is energy efficiency and not electric energy efficiency, I thought you need to keep a larger perspective in mind.
Sir, we are already working on water aspect. In fact, we did it back in 2019 when we did the first of its kind audits of municipal pumps under our ME program. And that has actually led to a lot of awareness in the municipalities about replacing their existing municipal pumps which are very high energy consuming.
No, I'm aware of the fantastic work which ESL has done. Ambassador Satish Mehta used to be your advisor, is a dear friend. Anyway.
So I'm so happy to discuss further. I think we'll have the opportunity to speak further.
I mean, my only little advice to you as energy efficiency should look at it comprehensively rather than just electric energy. Electric energy will have its own problems as we've seen. And with the AI revolution, data centers will be big consumers. And not only that, urbanization. Urban households will be big consumer electricity for running their air conditioners. Now, air conditioners have become popular utilitarian instruments and no longer luxury. So, you have to keep that in mind.
Sure, sir. In fact, we are working with Andhra Pradesh government right now about doing the water audits of MSME units.
Right.
And that is something which will complete the cycle, not only from seeing it from the energy, means electricity side, rather water side as well. That will give the holistic footprint of.
She's concluding. Yeah.
So it's naturally energy and water both are going to have.
It's a very interesting conversation and a fantastic organization. So I thought this is something which I'll come back to you later. Nidhi,
sure, sir.
Over
Thank
to
you.
Thank you so much, and I think it's good to keep it flowing and interactive rather than us coming with our, what
We
is
don't
it
want
that
to
we
hear
do.
speeches.
We all
Yeah.
know what is happening, but thank you for
You
the
want to hear
opportunity.
speeches?
Thank you for the opportunity to the organizers, and I think when we received the invite at HCL, what really struck the chord was the entire idea of transversality, as we call it, and that water is something that, as its character, it flows through almost everything, and we all know the importance of it. I would just put forward few extremely methodical approaches that we have taken within CSR of HCL Tech, of which I'm representing HCL Foundation, which implements the CSR agenda for HCL Tech, which is an IT company. We just talked about data centers, and water is something that's everywhere. But then, when we start doing something like water conservation work within corporate social responsibility within the ambit of the CSR law, I think there are a lot of scientific steps that one has to take in order for us to keep it extremely measurable at the end of the day and be very accountable to what exactly we are doing. So almost I would say that 7-8 years ago when we began to, and how the inspiration came was categorically we were working in rural areas, we were working in urban areas. Mr. Mehta knows the background, in Rajasthan, when I was part of the drought response, etc. So we all knew the techniques which existed then and now, but then how do you, those were international frameworks of grants and so on, and it was possible to kind of, go to those remote areas and work on water conservation. But when you actually look at it within the framework of CSR law, how are you going to really work on the commons? Because that's where I think the whole conversation comes live, that at the end of the day, water itself is one of the biggest common that we really need to conserve. And when we talk about common is not something that you can go to an X institution and you can start talking about it, you can map it. I mean, it is very much within the remit of the revenue department, so as to say. And in fact, a decade ago when the law came, and by the time a lot of work in India was reshaping, we realized that the first point which was missing was mapping of the commonly available water structures, which should have been in the public domain. So when we started in the geographies where we had presence, of course, we had the privilege of having a lot of human resource in the form of IT engineers. We were working with the government authorities already. Of course, we at HCL Foundation, we are also quite a big team. So I think one aspect that we could do was that we could also bring in bit of technology to map how many such water structures exist on ground, number one, and how many, as per the information which exists with the local people, how many actually should have existed. I mean, that by itself is a glaring gap. If you look at the general, I mean, when we mapped, I'm just taking example of Gautam Budh Nagar district, which commonly all of you know as Noida, but it is actually beyond Noida. Noida got Greater Noida, Dadri. Bisrak block and so on, but it itself had almost 17 to 1800 water bodies that we mapped on ground. And when simultaneously Jal Shakti Ministry also started such a mapping exercise, when we went to the revenue books, etc., they were also able to trace at least 1200, 1300 in the books. But then when we went back, we saw there were high rises already, the land was already awarded to somebody to do construction, etc. But I think at least that intersection happened at some opportune time where, just taking example of one district, they themselves were able to enter 1,000 water bodies, big and small, in their records, and at that stage they could tell authorities that let's stop the award of such land which was originally available for, which should have been ponds, or which should have been, the usual water bodies that you would see in general. So I think at least we are fortunate that instead of 1700, ideally it should have been 1700, but 1000 at least have been recorded, and that land use will not change. Why I'm taking one example is that this similar exercise happened all over the country then. Jal Shakti actually did this. And now, good thing is that you have many such water bodies which are mapped and they exist in the books. So that's one great opportunity for a lot of corporates here, a lot of NGOs here, government people, that if we could pick up one of them and just rejuvenate it. So we came up with this entire terminology. District collector के साथ हमने बैठ के लिखा कि जीर्णोद्धार, we actually named it जीर्णोद्धार, rejuvenation, and that meant that it existed at some stage. Jeernodhar, many of you might find it very difficult Hindi word, but it is actually something that existed. How do you really rejuvenate it fully? Usko वापस आप कैसे जीवित करेंगे? That is what we are talking about. Punarjeevan and Jeernodhar. So that is what we did. As a result, बिल्कुल सरल भाषा, लेकिन उत्तर प्रदेश में थे काम करना था. But similar structures we found in Tamil Nadu, similar we found in Karnataka, similar work happening in other parts of the country. Now the shape and size was quite different. Like if you look at Tamil Nadu, they were originally tanks, which existed. Madurai mein aap jayenge, ek se dusra tank connected, jo traditionally Chola civilization and all of them had invested once upon a time, and those were traditional water harvesting structures. Then we began to study a lot, like Urnis came up, Bavdis came up. We have all these very traditional water harvesting structures which existed. Then, the entire work, we all know Aaj bhi khare hain, talab and all of that. So we began to do this entire repository and invest in what should have conserved over all these years. I'm happy to report that through all these conservation efforts, more than 100 billion, actually it's 107 billion liters of water that we've been able to conserve in a very short duration of time. And that makes the entire company at Siltech almost 30 times water positive. Now, this entire idea of interconnectedness between ESG, between water conservation, and when I started, I said measurability in the CSR framework. A lot of people come and ask me that how do you do so much work on conservation in the CSR frameworks? And we always say we start with actually putting a matrix over there that how at the end of 3 years or 4 years this entire effort will look. Will we be able to show exactly on ground where we started, the before and after picture? Because your employees would ask you that question, your board will ask you that question, government will ask you that question. Now the issue that I started with, the commons, I think that's where the most important underlining principle of this entire work lies, is that the moment we say commons, it does not belong to you and I, it does not belong to government, it is actually everybody's common property. When we say commons, it's air, it's water, it's soil.
Can I ask you a question? I mean, just wanted to share an experience about commons.
Ji.
If you remember the famous waterman Rajendra Singh
Bilkul.
in Alwar district.
We're working with them. Yeah.
Rajan had a great problem with the district authorities. They said, look, water conservation is our responsibility, our right. People can't do it. You remember that? He went to the Supreme Court. We finally helped him in the Supreme Court as well. He was beaten up. All kinds of things happened, That's why I'm saying this is some downside this must think about when you talk about conservation and support. Secondly, you're talking about leakage. What about the leakage in the budget?
Ji.
It's huge. So many times the numbers that you generate are fictitious. Because that is what you get from fictitious executive engineers or district collectors from various
No, I think the biggest,
the
you're
Jal
right.
Jeevan mission was a great earner for the Babus.
See, I
So
think
how do you
that
deal
is
with
where this entire ethos, the moment I say commons and the moment I say, the whole construct around it, that how much are people aware? First of all, you go to the villages in the current times, the younger generation will have no clue a pond existed once upon a time here. How will they even claim it? So I think it's about the general awareness that it is something that belongs to everybody and everybody has a responsibility around it.
No, by the way, Nidhi, not only cuts, but many other organizations have been doing a lot of work at the local level by building anicuts.
Yeah.
And villages recognize the value of anicuts. And Rajasthan, as you know, has had some very traditional water structures.
Bilkul, bilkul, bilkul.
So, I just wanted to share that a lot of these things can be done, and how you multiply them is the challenge.
Exactly,
Number one. And
exactly.
secondly, the most important point which you made was about the mind change. Secondly, now how do you deal with the governance deficit?
That's what I was coming to.
Yeah.
So when the moment I was saying the commons, how do you really deal with it in the first place? So never start. I mean, one thing right from the beginning we were very clear about was that we will definitely have state on our side. We will not start independently working on any pond or any anecut, or start working. I mean, our not-for-profit partners are doing amazing work, but we were very clear that there'll be a tri-party MOU, public-private partnerships. And whenever I say that when we really need to work with proper accountability on water, public-private partnerships are critical, including the membership of the community, and concepts like Shramdan are more than welcome.
Nidhi, I would add a fourth P.
G.
Public, private and people.
Exactly, that's what I was coming to. The Shramdan, the people thing, is that
A lot of PPP work, we've done a lot of PPP work, and we often find that there is a resistance to it because people expect prices to go high. How do you deal with that? So you have to have what we call people first PPPs.
communitarization, as we call it, and that's a very important thing, Mehta ji, because unless people invest in their own water structures, they're almost like investing in their own economy. Yesterday I was going how they look at water conservation. The moment you start categorizing, it would fall under economic category and not social and educational category, because any water conserved is a contribution to economy. So I'll just sum up what HCL Tech as an HCL Foundation we've been able to do. We've been able to contribute significantly in mapping. We've been able to definitely rejuvenate umpteen number of water structures, including river channels. I think we also got 2022, was it? The National Water Award was given to HCL Foundation for its work. We've been able to definitely put on table frameworks through which you can measure the work in water conservation as well as biodiversity enhancement. And the most beautiful piece is how do you really link it with ESG. So I think that also has been able to happen. So it's totally a business approach which has been taken, which is measurable, which is scalable, and which is also something where communities have complete visibility into what is being done in their neighborhood. So thank you.
We've done a lot of work on ESG, and one of the very sad exclusions that we find is social. Workers' welfare is not there at all in the minds of the businesses when they talk in terms of ESG. And if you look at the definition of ESG, S stands for workers' welfare. They believe, unfortunately, that doing CSR is your social responsibility. Bullshit. Take care of your workers. They are your assets. They are your productive assets.
Well, I will not generalize this.
No, what I'm saying is we worked on a project called Good and Better Jobs, and there we found that the understanding of CSG, including by HCL, etc., is very bad. They don't know that, talking about workers'
We'll have
welfare.
a conversation with some evidence, but all I can end here is...
No, I mean generally, not HCL. I made a
generalization will not be good here, but
No. Many companies, we spoke to them. We looked at their websites, and we found that under S, they're looking at CSR as their responsibility.
No, I would argue that, because S is very categorically understood. See, ESG by itself is understood as something which happens within the control environment of the company. And HCL is a very good example where CSR has an independent reporting into the board, so does ESG have an independent reporting. One is very clear that the moment we talk about CSR, we are talking about the needs that emerge from the communities, the unmet needs at the national level, whereas ESG is your company's internal control environment.
Is it being put on the website?
Absolutely.
ESG
there
reporting?
are two distinct, distinct reportings that happen. There is a very clear demarcation about resources, and there is a complementary action at both, but it is very distinct when it comes to resource allocation as well as application. So the S there is human workforce within the company.
Yeah, Right.
And the
No,
CSR
but
is
what we found
Yeah.
in this project we were doing,
Yeah,
that
you may have.
understanding of S was so poor.
It needs to improve. It needs to
And
improve.
workers were always considered to be, the most disposable commodity.
With Gen Zs, you can't do that. So it's a new generation. Thank you. I'm taking away time of other
thank you very much.
speakers.
No, I
Thank
mean,
you, sir. Thank you.
HCL Foundation particularly is a fantastic organization which we had pleasure of not being able to deal with. That's a different story. With that, let me come to last speaker, Devajit Palit, who heads the climate. You want to leave? Yeah. Who at Chintan Research Foundation, another partner organization of Kutch. Let me make a confession.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Mehta. It's a pleasure to be here. And thank you, India Water Foundation, for inviting me. Chintan Research Foundation is a think tank. It's a very new think tank established about a year back, a little more than a year back. And we have been working across 3 verticals. Climate change and energy transition is what I am leading as part of the organization. We also have economy and trade, where I understand Mehta sir at the is collaborating with, and geopolitics and strategic studies. I think both these verticals are collaborating with Kutch. Unfortunately, we have not yet started, our vertical has not yet started that collaboration. And we hope to do so soon. So having said that, I have been working in the energy sector for the last many, many years, almost 3 decades now, been part of TERI and then the academic and now with Chintan Research Foundation. Water is an important area. Of course, I have never directly worked on water, but to extract water, you need energy, and and also to produce energy, you need water, whether it is a thermal power plant or nuclear plant or if it is a hydro plant. So water is very important. Now, having said that, I think Niti Aayog reports, and we all know about it, that India is a water scarce country. We have only 4% of water resources supporting 18% of the population. But more than that, I think we have been very indiscriminately using water, and water efficiency in most of our application or use is quite low as far as the global standards are concerned. Just to put a number to it, I think 1700 meter cube is the stress threshold, and we are much lower than that. We have water availability of around 1486 meter cube, which is further going down to about 1300 meter cube by 2030. So we really are in a concerning situation. Now, having said that, and more importantly, climate change is increasing the impact on this water distress. So we have sudden rainfall, drought, and all these things. So while earlier it was very we could store the water, but now we don't know, the rainfall pattern has changed, and because of that, it has become extremely difficult to manage the water resources. Now we are really in a very bad situation. Now, having said that, I think decarbonization, to which we have this net zero goal by 2070. We had this GDP emission intensity being reduced by 45% as per our NDC goal, 500 gigawatt of non-fossil fuel power generation by 2030. All these things will also have some positive impact on the water. And that's where I would like to bring to you how and why I think so. So more use of RE and solar vis-a-vis use of coal-based power plant. Coal-based power plant are extremely water intensive. Now, if you're shifting to RE, particularly solar and wind, so that they're very water less intensive energy generation. And more so when we have new technologies coming in, for example, robotic cleaning, dry cleaning. Earlier, we used to clean the solar panels with water, but now in almost all projects, large projects, water is not being used to clean the solar panels, but and more robotic cleaning and dry cleaning are being used. Some of the projects, for example, the Adani Green Energy, so they have, and you mentioned about the ESG. So what they are doing is that they are trying to make all their solar projects water positive. So when I say water positive, they're giving more water to the villages where the projects are being implemented, the large projects, than taking out water from the villages. So it's almost like 1.3 times of water being replenished than what is being taken out. Now that something is a very good step. At least
Can I ask you a question? When you talk about renewable energy,
Yeah.
Have you thought or worked upon nuclear energy? Now
Yeah,
you have
yeah,
the Shanti
absolutely.
bill.
Yes, yes, we have. So nuclear
What
is
is your view on that?
So nuclear is definitely not renewable. Nuclear is a clean energy, not renewable energy. So nuclear can help us. in
Uranium
achieving-
is renewable.
No, renewable are which can be replenished. So nuclear,
Okay.
by definition, renewables are those which
Pardon
can
my
be
ignorance.
replenished. So nuclear, you use an extractive industry. You have to use uranium or thorium as and when the technology develops. So it is a clean energy. It doesn't produce any carbon emission. So from that point of view, nuclear is important. It can provide base load, replace coal. So from that perspective, for India, it is very important. But definitely, we cannot. It has its own challenges. Water requirement is one of the challenges. So of course, we need nuclear, but probably we won't be reaching to the level of France or other European countries who have almost like 50-60% of nuclear contribution. Probably we will not be reaching there. We may have around 5 to 8% of nuclear in our energy mix. Now, just having said that, yeah. Shanti bill is basically it's more to involve the private sector, one, and two, it has removed the defends the liability. So remove the ambiguity of liability which was there. So it integrates both the Atomic Energy Act and the Nuclear Liability Bill of 2010 into one single act following international norms. The liability bill of 2010 was not following international norms. So we had our own, we tried to create a new rule after entering the nuclear club. It is like entering the India International, becoming a member of IIC and then asking the IIC to change their rule. So we were trying to do that, which was not acceptable to most of the other countries and private sector, and that has been corrected.
No,
now.
1 minute, 1 minute. That 2010 Liability Act was drafted because of the world's worst industrial accident took place in Bhopal. There's a background to it.
There is a background,
Yeah.
but that's
So
what I'm
we
saying. So
must
it was
understand
not following international norms. So we cannot we cannot expect somebody to come
If
to
you
us
remember,
without
Union Carbide was making 7, which was a banned pesticide.
No,
Not
I'm
in
not
India.
saying that. What I'm saying is that all other
There's a double jeopardy.
No, what I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that if you are to be part of the nuclear club, the nuclear suppliers group, you have to follow the international rule. And if the international rule, you cannot have something different than the international rule and expect the international companies to come to India and implement projects. That's why no company came to India to implement projects, and we lost 15 years. So let's be very clear about it. Anyway, we are discussing.
I beg your pardon, we have Canadian investments, nuclear
Now it is
investments.
coming.
No, in Rawat Bhata in Rajasthan for 50 years ago.
I'm saying from 2010 to 20.
And badly designed
2025.
reactors.
2010 to 2025. No.
And then Russian, we are
Russian,
getting,
we had a different agreement with Russian. I don't know what is that agreement. It's a
no, but we have nuclear installations in India.
I'm saying that Russian.
Sorry?
I'm saying agreement.
Digressing from water.
Yeah. No, let me come back to the water issue, and these are more important issues. No, it's interconnected. Let me come back to the water issue. Now, yeah, I will come to that. I will address that. Anyway, let me come. So let me come back to the water issues. Now, one good case which definitely I would like to highlight here, and not many people here would be knowing, is this scheme in Gujarat called Jyotigram. And everybody knows about Jyotigram. It has been replicated, it's at least being tried to be replicated in different parts of India. And everybody knows about how the distribution companies started earning profit in Gujarat after implementation of Jyotigram, which is feeder level separation. So agricultural feeders have been separated out. What many people may not know is that Jyotigram and the Gujarat fairy tale, I call it a fairy tale revival of the distribution sector, was not possible without consideration of the water sector. So Gujarat built almost 100,000 check dams during the same time. The water sector was integrated with the electricity sector, and the irrigation pump sets which was extracting water from the ground were also complemented with surface water irrigation through check dam. Now that's played wonder because the energy consumption by the farmers reduced drastically. The government subsidy bill reduced because of that, and because the government subsidy bill in the agricultural sector reduced, the distribution companies could come back to profit. And they started earning profit from, I think, the Jyotigram scheme was implemented in the mid-2000, and since 2010, the Gujarat discoms have started earning profit. Now, in contrast, if we see the surface water irrigation in India, after the major projects in the 60s and 70s, after that, almost the surface water irrigation project development stopped in India, and we only had groundwater irrigation project, which created all the problems for us. Surface water irrigation has less efficient, definitely it is less efficient because of water evaporation and other thing, but still it is a much better, less resource intensive than groundwater irrigation, and that's something that we missed.
Thank you, Devajit. Now, I'd like to conclude this session. Time for tea and coffee or what have you. I have two important takeaways. Number one, there are many, many good examples, successful examples which are happening all over the country. How do we replicate them? That is the issue. Secondly, we have to also be careful about the downsides, which, you spoke about nuclear, for example, or the kind of leakages which are happening in our administration system. It is only getting worse, if you ask me. I mean, we work at the grassroots and we see how things are just getting worse now. Corruption is becoming endemic. And so a lot of good things out of these investments which go into public welfare schemes is lost. They are lost. And who pays? You and I, and we are paying for it. So unless the nexus covers, deficit, governance deficit, you'll find that we will not be able to make that progress which is desirable. With that, let me come to a conclusion and to thank all the three panelists who belong to organizations which I admire. And with that, we break for tea and coffee, and we come back in about half an hour's time. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. Before we break for tea, we do have a little...
A token.
Yes, a token to be presented to all of you.
Sorry.
And to do the honors, may I invite on stage Dr. Arvind Kumar, President, India Water Foundation, to present mementos to the esteemed speakers and the esteemed chair as a token of our appreciation and thanks. We start by thanking Mr. Abhishek Gupta, Head International Appliances, Rooftop Solar and PE A, Energy Efficiency Services Limited. We thank Dr. Devajit Palit, Center Head Center for Climate Change and Energy Transition, Chintan Research Foundation. We thank Ms. Nidhi Pundir, Vice President, Global CSR, Director, HCL Foundation. We know you wanted to go a little early, but thank you for staying back. And our big thanks to Mr. Pradeep S. Mehta, Chair, Secretary General, CUTS International. That concludes our first session of day 2, but we are going to take a break for tea, however only for 15 minutes. So kindly join us outside for tea, but we come back in this hall and we'll start the next session at 10:45. So please do join us back in time. Thank you.